Okay, we are ready to roll. Hello and welcome to everyone. Today our guest is UFC fighter Ode Osbourne. Ode, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. What can you say in general about yourself, your achievements, like in 3, 4 sentences, general announcement, and then we are going to go with question by question if it works for you. Please.
Yeah, for sure. First, so my name is Ode. It sounds like Ode. Everyone says that, but it's actually Ode. But yeah, man, I'm just hoping to get back in the cage here pretty soon. I'm hoping because I didn't take any damage or anything, so I'm hoping to step back in here. Hopefully within 2 months, if everything goes right. My fingers are crossed for the next 2 months, and I'm hoping to continue that pattern.
So you haven't got the damage, but you are still medically suspended or not? How is the
No, I'm
situation?
not. I'm not. I only got 4 days suspension.
Awesome.
So, yeah, yeah. So I want to do like this. You know what I mean? I want to do like that with training. I don't want to be all the way up all the time, and I don't want to be all the way down all the time. I want to be able to uh, work my way up, work my way down. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise, when you're mentally up all the time, it gets exhausting. You know what I'm saying? So I worked all the way up to where I fought. Now I'm getting back down. I'm back down now to kind of decompress my brain. Now I'm gonna work back up and hopefully take a fight within 2 months.
Outstanding. When did you start training MMA and which was your first martial art?
I started training in 2013, and my first martial arts was wrestling. Actually, I wrestled growing up, and I fell in love with it. And I wanted to be in the Olympics, but that didn't work out, so I chose MMA.
According to your fighting style, I'd say you're a striker. I would never say you come from wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too. I've developed to be a striker because striking is more freeing. Like I like to use my elements and do damage. When I wrestle, I don't really I'm not doing anything besides holding somebody down, unless you get like somebody like a Khabib where they're holding you down and hitting you. But yeah, I would say I'm a striker.
Can you elaborate your nickname?
The Jamaican sensation. So the Jamaican sensation. I was born in Jamaica, so the Jamaican sensation just kind of flows. It's catchy to the ear. So something that somebody could remember. So I just chose the Jamaican sensation.
Who are your coaches and sparring partners?
Well, there is also another bantamweight UFC fighter, Montel Jackson. He is I'm not sure what his rank is, but he's my one of my sparring partners. I have another guy named Jamie Simmons. He just fought. Who did he fight? I don't remember who he fought, but he just fought in the UFC probably a month
Giga?
ago. Yes, yes. Good. Look at good memory. That's really good. You do your homework. You do your homework. Yeah, that he got a week's notice to fight him. So he fought him in a week's notice. I think it would do a lot better if it was, he had more time to prepare. But that was so I trained with him, Montel, another used to be Leah Letson and Zach Otto. We have some up and coming guys named Ben Shower, Javi Coronado. We have a ton of people that are just bust their ass every single day, and my coaches are amazing. We have Ben Tomes, who's my wrestling coach, Zach Otto, Solo Acosta, and then we got Jake Clip on there as well. So my coaches are amazing. My teammates are amazing. Everything is just, I'm trying to really just pay attention to my body and be patient.
I wanted to ask you one thing about a medical suspension. So in UFC, even if you don't suffer a damage, even if you don't hit a shot, you're gonna get 1 or 2, 3 days medical suspension. How is the rule?
Correct. Yep. Correct. You'll get a couple days because sometimes why that is because sometimes, say for instance, you sprain your wrist or you roll your ankle and you don't know it. Your adrenaline is so built up the day of the fight. You can't feel anything. So a lot of times when I kick people, I'll kick. I'll just kick them down, and I don't feel a thing. But the next day, I just can't walk because my shins are so beat up. So that's why that is. It's for the next day, just in case you sprain something or you hurt your back or your something that you don't know about, and it settles in a few days later.
Do you have a favorite strike?
A favorite strike? No, I don't. I like to consider myself, like I said, I called myself the Picasso because I like to be artistic, like a canvas, painting. So I don't say I have a favorite strike.
I assume you don't have a favorite submission or a favorite throw too, whatever it flows, right?
Whatever it flows. Yes, exactly. Whatever it flows.
What can you say about your first amateur fight? Was it a stressful experience for you, or
It was I wouldn't say it was stressful. I would say it was a lot of excitement. So it was hard to sleep because I was so excited, And I would just say it was exciting. My first amateur fight was definitely exciting.
and who was the hardest amateur opponent you've ever met?
The hardest amateur opponent I ever met. None of them.
So you didn't have hard fights when you were amateur, right?
I did. I got hard fights when I was amateur. I fought a guy that was 8-0 when I was only about I was 2-0 and I fought him. He was 8-0. So I got a lot of hard fights. I only had about 5 or 6 fights though, and then I went pro afterwards, but I just ran through everybody.
Can you please compare your professional debut and amateur debut? Was it a significant difference, or it was like every day, ordinary routine, or
Every day at the office, same. It was kind of this similar.
in your second fight, you fought with Flowers. There was a no contest, so I was unable to watch that fight. So can you say why it was ruled no contest? Your second pro fight.
So my second pro fight, there was a technicality in the cage, and the cage where the cage meets the canvas had kind of like there was an adjustment, and the cage was loose. So the bottom of the cage was loose, so they had to call the fight mid-fight. They had to call the fight off.
Such things happen in minor promotions. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what happened.
pretty much new for me. What can you say about was it RFA debut against Antonio Sanchez? It's your first loss, right?
Yep. Yes. And I forgot to mention about that cage. His foot actually fell in between. It slipped right through the credit. Yeah, his foot slipped right through there. But anyways, Antonio Sanchez. That I'll say so. Right before that fight, about 6 months prior, my head coach had passed away. The guy that pretty much taught me everything about being a martial artist. He was kind of like my sensei, my role model. He taught me everything, discipline, how to not just being a martial artist, but almost like a father figure. You know what I mean? He was like a father to me. And so he taught me a lot about being an adult because I came out of high school at about 18 years old. And he grew me and matured me and groomed me as a person. And, it was a lot of discipline that came from him. And so, he died in a motorcycle accident. And I'm not saying that was the reason why I lost, but there was a lot going on prior to that fight. And then I had to change gyms. So I was going to his gym, his dojo, and I had never lost a fight underneath him. Never. When I was with him, I never lost a single fight. He was kind of like Khabib's dad was with him. That's how he was with me, So yeah, when I transferred to another gym now, Rufus Sports, the environment was completely different with Duke Rufus and stuff. Not to say it was any better or any worse. It was just different. So with losing him and going into a whole different environment, that was my first fight in a brand new environment and without him. So I was under a lot of pressure and mental stuff. But he was a good fighter, man. Nothing, hats off to him. He wanted that fight more, and he capitalized much better. I kind of was. I couldn't perform on my best, but hats off to him. He performed 100%, and he wanted the win more and did what he needed to do. So I don't regret that one. That was a good loss for me. I learned a lot.
How hard it is on the scale from 1 to 10 when you're forced to change gym, when you're forced to change coach? How hard it is actually?
A 10. It's a 10 because some gyms and some coaches, right? So you have gym A that can be very motivating, hard on you, but very motivating and believe in you and show strength and build you up in a positive way. And you have some other gyms that will scream at you and yell at you and constantly hammer, you know what I'm saying, and talk down on you and you know what I mean, and very disrespectful. So it's a 10 going from one to the next.
You defeated Corey Galloway via split decision. What do you think about that fight? Was it a good victory or?
I thought it was a good victory. I thought that was probably my hardest pro fight. I thought if you go back and watch the fight, I would have said it was a unanimous decision because I was on top of him, for 3 rounds, and I thought it was unanimous. But I'm not one to complain about judges, but if I had to complain, I would say that one was where I was in my life. That fight was right after my very first loss. So, a lot of pressure, doubt. Am I still a good fighter? Do I still believe in myself? Can I still do this? Again, at a different gym where the environment is completely different. I left that gym. I'm at a different gym now. But, yeah.
Who was your hardest opponent prior to Contender Series and UFC?
My hardest opponent, I would say Corey Galloway and Armando Villarreal.
And about Contender Series, what can you say about that fight? Because stepping up into Contender Series, it means you're a very, very serious fighter. You are seen by the UFC, and was it a big step up in your career? How were you preparing for that fight?
It was a big step up. It was a huge step up, and I just was focused on the mission the whole time. You know what I'm saying? I thought about being in Jamaica, and I thought about why I moved to America and why I chose to fight and all the things that made me a good fighter. And I thought about all, you know what I'm saying, all the things that I wanted to succeed on in my life and build on in my life. And I just thought about the why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. And I just locked onto that and I just stayed hungry.
Just excellent. And about Brian Kelleher, your first UFC fight, I mean, for me, it was a pretty much surprising guillotine. I actually didn't
Yeah.
know that his guillotine is good. I mean, I watched Brian Kelleher for a very long time, but I've never seen him doing that kind of a guillotine. It was a big surprise for me, too. What can you say about that?
So remember the why that I was telling you about just now? I lost it. I lost the why after that fight because, once I was like, yeah, I'm here. And, I'm walking out into the octagon. I'm looking around and all the fans. And I'm like, I'm like, yeah. And but usually I'm very locked in and I'm very stoic. That's me. During that fight, I was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? So I lost focus of the why. And that's the reason, that was the downfall that caused me to lose that fight. Because even if his guillotine was good or not, I know myself and I know I can bust out of anything. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of just gave up because I didn't have the hunger, the why I came to this country of doing what I was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And so that was another good loss for me. All the losses that I've had were all good losses that I learned from, because each loss teaches me something.
That's the technical question now.
Of course.
According to your thoughts, what is the best way to slip out of guillotine choke attempt? But I mean when it's already locked in, not when he attempts in the first phase, when it's already locked in.
When it's already locked in, it would be depending on the position that you're in. So depending on the position that you're in, so if he's on his back, the best way is to get your butt up and reach your arm over his shoulder. So you're kind of getting your butt up and you're reaching your arm over his shoulder. Once you reach your arm over his shoulder if he's on his back, then you fall to one side. Make sure you're falling to the side that you can escape from, and then you kind of shrimp out and take side control. There's so many different ways, though. There's so many, but I'm usually pretty good at grabbing the wrist before it's locked. You know, like I said, I just lost focus and I wasn't dialed in. So usually I snatch that wrist up right away. Usually I'm snatching the wrist, and you know what I'm saying. And but I wasn't very dialed in on that because I got too comfortable. I forgot about the struggle. You know what I mean? The hunger. I lost the hunger.
Yeah, but against Jerome Rivera, you looked completely different. I mean, when you were entering the octagon, you were like,
that's how I usually, and that's because I focus on my why. You know what I mean? If you watch every single fight leading up, I am the same way. I focus on my why. I know what I want, and I'm hungry. The only fight that I was not like that was the Brian Kelleher fight, because I got too comfortable and too content because I thought, oh, I made it to the UFC. I made it, and that's it, you know.
What are your plans for the future, and do you have a wish list?
Do I have a what?
Wish list, like, would you like to fight somebody next, or
yes.
That's a wish list?
Yes. So I'm hoping to get a fight with Felicio Figueiredo, because he fought Jerome Rivera last, and he beat him. So I hope I can get a fight with Felicio Figueiredo next. That would set up, a good momentum, because his brother is the champion in that weight class. So that would be a good fight, I think. That'd be a lot of fun.
So you plan to keep the ball rolling and to wait for the opportunity, if I understood well, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Keep the ball rolling, man. Just roll that thing down the hill like a snowball, and hopefully that snowball just is this big by 2021.
Outstanding. Would you like to add something? Would you like to greet someone? Would you like to give a shout out to someone?
Just shout out to everybody watching this video, and anybody that wants to become, anybody that wants to do anything in their life. Don't listen to people, and don't do what's ordinary. So step outside the box and do unordinary things, because those little unordinary moments will create big opportunities for you. So just stay tuned and stay focused on your why, and follow me on Instagram, Ode Osbourne, Ode Osbourne, Osbourne.
Thank you so much. I will share your links. I will share it in the video description. I will put it to creation now. As soon as the boxing event is finished, I will put this. I will put this. Okay. I will send you a message. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for the interview today. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.